Welcome to your free English lesson. This series will focus on the verb to have. There are three intended learning outcomes for this lesson. 1. We are learning to conjugate and use the verb to have as an auxiliary verb. 2. We are learning about the verb to have as an auxiliary verb that helps to form the past perfect continuous tense in an action verb. 3. We are learning to apply the auxiliary verb to have when talking about an action that started before another past action and continued for some time. It is important to write when you are asked to. It helps you to learn. You can use a whiteboard, but ideally a notebook would be best. That way, you can keep a record of your learning. As an action verb, or acting as a main verb, the verb to have tells us what someone or something owns or possesses. In the simple past tense, we can conjugate the verb to have like this. Follow as I read. I had. You had. This is singular, one person. He had. She had. It had. We had. You had. This is plural, more than one person. They had. The verb to have is usually transitive, so it takes a direct object to complete its meaning. Notice that the verb to have is irregular, so when we conjugate it, it changes from the infinitive form. These sentences are in the past perfect tense. I had seen that movie before. They had left the house when it started to rain. We had cleaned the house before we left. Are these actions in the past? Yes. Did they happen before another past action? Yes. As an auxiliary verb, to have does not mean to own. When it is followed by been, the past participle of to be, it helps the main verb. It shows that one action was happening before another past event. It also helps to show that the action continued for some time. The main verb ends with the ing suffix. It is called the present participle. This diagram shows what the past perfect continuous tense looks like. One action happened before another action in the past and continued for some time. Here is an example. She was tired because she had been running. What happened first? Running. What happened later? She was tired. We use the past perfect continuous to talk about an action that started in the past, continued for some time, and happened before another past action. What is missing in these sentences? They had been waiting for hours. I had been cooking dinner. Had he been working at the office? Had you been practicing the piano? You might notice that the second action is missing in these sentences. That's because the second action is implied. Remember, the past perfect continuous means something happened first and continued for some time in the past. There are different possibilities that can be implied. It depends on the context of the conversation. Listen to the implied second action. What could the second past action be? They had been waiting for hours. What might happen next? The concert began. I had been cooking dinner. What might happen next? Someone called. Had he been working at the office? What might happen next? The power went out. Had you been practicing the piano? What might happen next? It was time for the exam. Remember, the implied action also happened in the past. We use the past perfect continuous tense to show that an action started in the past, continued for some time, and stopped before another past event. Here is an example. She was tired because she had been working all day. This timeline shows that in the past, she worked for some time. Then in the past, she was tired. The action of working was still in progress before something else happened. We use the past perfect continuous tense to say how long an action had been happening up to a point in the past. It is often used with the time words for and since. For example, they had been waiting for 2 hours before the bus arrived. This timeline shows that in the past, they waited for 2 hours. Then in the past, the bus arrived. The action of waiting took a length of time, 2 hours, before something else happened. We use the past perfect continuous tense to explain a past result. For example, the ground was wet because it had been raining. This timeline shows that in the past it rained, then in the past the ground was wet as a result. It is a past result, not a present one. We use the past perfect continuous tense to show that the action in the past was temporary or repeated. For example, he had been travelling before he got the job. This timeline shows that in the past he had been travelling, then in the past he got the job. The action of travelling was temporary. This lesson will look at the past perfect continuous tense. The verb to have with the past participle been helps to form perfect continuous tenses. It does not carry the main meaning of a sentence. It works together with the main verb to show that one action was happening before another past action. The structure of a statement follows this form: subject plus the verb to have conjugated in the past perfect continuous tense. The past participle of to be, been, plus the present participle verb, which ends with the suffix ing, ing. The punctuation at the end of a sentence is a full stop for a statement and an exclamation mark for an exclamation. The structure of a yes-no question follows this form: the verb to have conjugated in the past perfect continuous tense, plus the subject, plus the past participle of to be, been, plus the present participle verb, which ends with the suffix ing, ing. The punctuation at the end of a question is a question mark. Time words help us show duration or order of events. They tell us that an action started in the past and continued for some time, finishing before another event. They usually go in a specific place in the sentence. All plus time period is used to show duration of an action in the past. It emphasizes that the action continued throughout that entire time before another past event. In a question, had plus subject plus been plus main verb plus all time period plus past event. Had he been working all day before the meeting? In a statement, subject plus had plus been plus main verb plus all time period plus past event. He had been working all day before the meeting. 4 is used to show duration. It shows how long an action had been happening before another past event. In a question, had plus subject plus been plus main verb plus for plus duration plus past event. Had I been reading for 3 hours before dinner? In a statement, subject plus had plus been plus main verb plus for plus duration plus past event. I had been reading for 3 hours before dinner. Since is used to show the starting point of an action. It answers the question of an action starting and continuing up to another past event. Since when? In a question, had plus subject plus been plus main verb plus since plus starting point plus past event. Had they been waiting since 8 a.m. when the train arrived? In a statement, subject plus had plus been plus main verb plus since plus starting point plus past event. They had been waiting since 8 a.m. when the train arrived. Before is used to show one action happened earlier than another past action. Before emphasizes an event happening earlier than another event. In a question, had plus subject plus been plus main verb plus before plus past event. Had we been practicing before the concert? In a statement, subject plus had plus been plus main verb plus before plus past event. We had been practicing before the concert. After is used to show that one action happened following another action. After emphasizes that an event continued up until or immediately after another past event. In a question, had plus subject plus been plus main verb plus after plus past event. Had you been swimming after the storm? In a statement, subject plus had plus been plus main verb plus after plus past event. You had been swimming after the storm. When is used to show an action happening at the time of another action. When connects two past events in one sentence, it answers the question, what was happening at the time of another past action? In a question, had plus subject plus been plus main verb plus when plus past action. Had they been playing when it started to rain? In a statement, subject plus had plus been plus main verb plus when plus starting point. They had been playing when it started to rain. Because, as, and since are used to show reason or cause for a past result. Because, as, and since explain why something in the past happened. They are interchangeable, but as and since are more formal. Because is more commonly used in conversation. The structure of the sentence changes. In a question, past result plus because plus subject plus had plus been plus main verb. Had they missed the bus because they had been talking? In a statement, past result plus because plus subject plus had plus been plus main verb. They had missed the bus because they had been talking. How long asks about duration of an action. This is a common question form. It seeks to answer for how much time had something continued before another past event. It can also begin with for. So, for how long? How long plus had plus subject plus been plus main verb plus past event. How long had you been cooking before the guests arrived? How long had we been talking before the teacher arrived? In the blank space, write the correct past perfect continuous, had been, and the main verb with the ing suffix. 1. She study all morning before the exam. 2. They watch the show for 2 hours. 3. You practice your speech since last week. 4. He answer emails before the meeting started. 5. I read my book all evening. 6. We explore the city when it began raining. 7. You wait in line for half an hour. 8. It rain all afternoon. 9. I use the computer since last night. 10. We walk in the park for hours. Pause the video. The next slide contains the answers. Check your answers. 1. She had been studying all morning before the exam. 2. They had been watching the show for 2 hours. 3. Had you been practicing your speech since last week? 4. He had been answering emails before the meeting started. 5. I had been reading my book all evening. 6. We had been exploring the city when it began raining. 7. Had you been waiting in line for half an hour? 8. It had been raining all afternoon. 9. I had been using the computer since last night. 10. We had been walking in the park for hours. Here is an extender for anybody who would like a challenge. Fill in the correct time word all, for, since, before, after, because, as, since, when, how long. 1. They had been working in the garden. Lunch. 2. I had been exercising. An hour before breakfast. 3. We had been travelling. 5 p.m. when we reached the hotel. 4. Had she been reading her book? 5. Had they been running? They missed the bus. 6. We had been planning a long time. 7. Had you been painting the room? Morning. 8. It had been glitching yesterday. Pause the video. The next slide contains the answers. Check your answers. Some options are interchangeable. 1. They had been working in the garden before lunch. 2. I had been exercising for an hour before breakfast. 3. We had been travelling since 5 p.m. when we reached the hotel. 4. How long had she been reading her book? 5. Had they been running when they missed the bus? 6. We had been planning for a long time. 7. Had you been painting the room all morning? 8. It had been glitching since yesterday. Thank you for joining into the lesson today. I hope you have confidently learned about conjugating and using the verb to have in the past perfect continuous tense, and the verb to have as an auxiliary verb that helps to show that an action started in the past and continued until another action in the past. Please like and subscribe for more lessons. There is a lot to learn, so don't give up. Keep believing in yourself and you will learn. See you next time. Bye.